Asked and answered. One viewer wants to know, the U87, the Manley Reference C cardioid, or the Soyuz 017 FET? Which mic to get for VO?
You're listening to the dangerous mind of Mark Yoshimoto Nemkov. No excuses, no BS, no pants.
Hey, you microphone maniacs and VO pros out there, it's Mark Yoshimoto Nemkov. And Qamar Mood wants to know which microphone to get. Should he get the Soyuz 017 FET, the U87 AI, or the Manley Ref C? Great choices. And he's going to be using them through a couple of different, very clean pre's. So what you're going to get is the sound of the microphone. It's an important choice. And I'm very flattered, Qamar, that you asked me because, really, I'm just a random guy on YouTube. But let me try to answer it for you. And I know a lot of people will punt on this question. A lot of people will say, well, you got to try them out yourself, and everybody's microphone journey is different, blah, 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 blah. You just want an answer, don't you? Okay, I'm going to give you one. And here's the short form answer. If you want to bail on this video right after this, I'm going to give you the answer. Get the Soyuz 017 FET. And let me tell you why. Now, first of all, the U87 AI is an amazing microphone. It is an industry standard. It's a bulletproof choice when it comes to VO. There are things about that microphone that go beyond just how it sounds. The branding, the whole thing. I mean, it really does. When you have a really nice mic like a U87 AI, you feel like you're holding Excalibur in your hand. And if you sound great on a U87 AI, then there's definitely a place for you in the VO world. U87 AI, bulletproof choice. But it's expensive, $3,600 US new. And then you could buy it used, right, for about $2,200. But on the used market, you have to be careful because you either want the Rev 2 version or the Rev 6 version. Because the other versions in between have a daughter board instead of the 3819 FET. 3819? 2N3819? Okay, so you don't want the daughter board version of the U87. And I may be telling you stuff that you already know. The daughter board versions sound a little bit brittle up top. You don't want that. So if you buy used, you have to be careful. And also you have to know, really, how much was the microphone used. Now, I have seen microphones for sale where the capsules are completely corroded. So if you're going to spend $2,200 on a used U87, you want to make sure that that microphone will last you a while. U87 bulletproof choice. However, the Manley Ref C, right? Great microphone. Cuts really well. Not really sure about the low mids though. Kind of lean on the low mids. But even so, if you have a foghorn type voice, it might be good for you. But here's my problem with the Ref C. It has that really weird high-end peak. Now, the Ref C was meant for pop vocals to cut through a mix, right? Not like so much like the Sony C800. But in a similar vein, it's a modern-sounding microphone. And I think that maybe a lot of VO folks, tend to be attracted to it because they think that forwardness is going to give them an edge. Literally. An edge to their sound, an edge to their attempts to get jobs and keep jobs, and so on and so forth. I think that's a load of crap, okay? I think you have to have the right mic for the right sound, and I think the Manley Ref C is a little bit more limited in the ground that it can cover. The U87 AI can cover commercials, narrations, characters, the whole gamut. The Ref C is not a cheap mic. Now, the Ref C you can also get used for about $2,200 to $2,800. The Ref C is also a tube mic. And tube mics are problematic in that if a tube mic fails on you in the middle of a session, right? I mean, it sounds like a tube mic shouldn't fail on you. But tubes are a little bit tricky. Tubes are, well, here's the thing. If you had a tube mic that failed in the middle of a session, you'd have to power down your mic, then wait a few minutes for it to cool down, and then replace the tube, which may not have been used before, so a brand new tube is going to sound different than your used tube, especially if you've used that tube a few thousand hours and it's all buttery and creamy. Buttery and creamy. So you don't want to be in that situation. And I know that there's a VO artist on Gearspace who has mentioned that very same thing happening. His Ref C tube went out in the middle of a session and he didn't have a backup. And even if you do have a backup, you really should burn that thing in. You can't just go plug it in. And this can't happen if you're in the middle of a session with a client. If you're in the middle of a session with a client, you can't be like, hey, I got to power down for a few minutes and then put in a new tube. Forget it. That client will never work with you again. The Soyuz 017 FET. Okay, I really like this microphone. Now, I do not work for Soyuz. I am not endorsed by Soyuz. I do not get any compensation for telling you that this is a great microphone. My work experience with this microphone has been very positive. Now, if you happen to have a voice that is similar to mine in timbre, you will probably get a similar result. Now, of course, I'm not going through a completely clean preamp. I'm going through the Neve, which has a little bit of color and weight to it. And, I feel like the microphone is an essential part of your chain, but it's not the only part of your chain. You also have to, work on your voice. You have to make sure your pre sounds good, your output sounds good. But starting with the microphone, the Soyuz 017 FET, honestly, if you take the bottom cap off and you open up this microphone, there's a stick of butter inside. There's an actual stick of butter inside. And this is not brass. This is actually gold-plated butter. And that's what I love about this microphone for VO. It's got creamy goodness. It's got some kind of mojo to it. And yet, it's still very, very intelligible and clear on the top. But the mid-range, especially the low mids, the marriage of this capsule that they make and this toroidal transformer, you get this beautiful thickness, authoritative thickness. That's going to be the name of my next band. You get the authoritative thickness of the low mids. You get this beautiful cutting upper mid. And then you get this really nice, smooth high end. This to me sounds like the best vintage 87 you've ever heard. And the knock on U87 AIs is that because they do tend to try to be a little bit more modern sounding, is that some people find them harsh and sibilant up top, which this mic is not. So I don't have sibilance issues with this microphone. And this microphone, honestly, it looks like a piece of art. I think that if I am going to recommend one microphone to you, and granted your results, your mileage may vary, Soyuz 017 FET. So go and see if the Soyuz 017 FET may be available to you on demo, right? It's possible. I don't know, depending upon your location or whatever. I don't know if they, if you live in the US or wherever you live, maybe you can get a demo. So if you can't demo all these mics, you're not going to go wrong, really, with any of them. However, you may have regrets, and you probably will want the other two no matter which one you pick. And the other thing is that when you get a microphone, you have to live with it and work with it for a while to really understand it. It's like a relationship. Because when I first got this microphone, I plugged it in and I was like, wow. But I didn't really find the right sound for work yet. And it took me a while to really tinker with it and get it dialed in where I really like it. So every microphone has a break-in period. And a lot of times you'll put your headphones on and you'll talk through a microphone, and it's so different from what you've been using that you think that it's awful. Because your mind, your brain, your ears, your emotions are all basically have been painted with the sound of a previous microphone. And you're trying to replace it with a better microphone. But you may just plug it in and hear that creamy, buttery goodness and say to yourself, that is my microphone. All right. So if I have to weigh in and tell you which microphone that I think you might like best, I'm going to weigh in and say, Soyuz 017 FET. Give it a shot. Get it someplace where you can return it if you don't like it. But I think you're going to like it. Okay? Let me know what you think, Qamar. Let me know what you think, everybody. All right? Until next time, this is Mark Yoshimoto Nemkov, fading to black.